I love my very thin, very light, I think it's 65-inch television, and the sound sucks. I mean, really, and it's not surprising because I don't know how big the speakers are, like half an inch, and they try really hard, but I really can't understand the dialogue. I turn it up so loud, it really sounds awful in my apartment. And so at some point, um, we have to solve that problem. So where do we start with the client? Do we let them experience this first, or do we jump in and say, "Hey, the great TV, sound's gonna suck. How do we fix that problem?" What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, that's exactly how we handle it. We talk about how the fact that TVs are made to be super thin, really bright, really colorful, but there is no focus on quality of audio from TVs anymore. And so we absolutely make sure to address that immediately and let people know that when they're watching TV, they want to rely on an outside source for audio and for simply just clarity, being able to hear the news or uh, a sitcom or a sporting event, and making sure that you're able to hear that. And we want people to understand that that should not come from the TV itself, but from an
Yeah,
alternate source.
I think is a good starting point. The speakers should face the people listening to them. Like, let's just get to that point. Let's point them in the right direction and start there.
You mean rather than pointed at the floor or the
Well,
ceiling or
yeah,
wherever?
yeah. On most TVs, those speakers to just have enough physical space for them, because as you said, your TV is probably less than half an inch thick, and the actual bezel of it's probably less than a quarter of an inch thick. So to have room to fit even a 1 inch speaker, they have to put it on the back. And it's not like a TV. Your TV is 65 inches across, and as far as I know, pretty solid. So you're firing a speaker into a wall, hoping that it will bounce back through a solid 65-inch box. And believe it or not, that I'm not a physicist, but it doesn't work well. Like it's a very poor design, but people were more concerned with having that really nice looking TV on their wall. And the sound isn't really something most people test out when they're, at the big box store. They see the picture, they see that beautiful 4K image, they see what it looks like on the wall. And it's not until they get home that they find out that, yeah, there is a sacrifice after all.
And so you can go to Amazon, you can go to Best Buy, you can go and buy $70, $100 soundbar, which it seems to me is the easiest way.
Those
And
speakers do point in the right direction, so it's a good
Yeah,
start. I mean,
it's
we're moving
definitely
in
a
the right
level.
direction now.
It's a step
but
up.
but it
That's right.
but you're not going to, you've got an 85, 65, 75-inch television, and you've got a 25-inch or 50-inch soundbar. There's an effect there as well, isn't it? I mean, you're not going to get the value of all the information coming from your source through a very small and cheap soundbar. It's going to be better, but it's not going to be great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's definitely levels, and we've talked about that many times on our podcast, is how you kind of step into things. And so you've got, you buy a Samsung TV, and Samsung offers a sound bar for $150, and that's an option. And it sounds a little bit better than the TV does, but it doesn't sound great. And then you go from there. You may go up into something that might be, like a Sonos sound bar, or a comparable product like that, or a Bose sound bar, right? Maybe it has a little bit better audio quality, a little better performance out of it, maybe even add some features into it, like playing some music through it when you're not watching TV. And then from that point, you move up into sound bars that have higher quality, maybe even look better along with the TV, to where you can actually get them to kind of match the dimensions of the television, the style of the television, the finish of the television, so that then it starts to become a part of it and not necessarily something that was stuck on afterwards, and done that way. And so there's definitely levels as we can go through to get increased performance and a better look on how that can be installed.
Yeah, soundbars are always fighting physics because they're really small. Like they're designed to match these small TVs. So if you go buy a really cheap soundbar, instead of really just focusing on quality, they probably focused on a lot of features to help them sell it. So does it have
Mhm.
Bluetooth? Does it create faux surround sound? I mean, like, what are all the things it can do that we can list in bullet points on the box? That's what's going to help us sell it. What we typically talk to our clients about is higher quality speakers that are typically not powered, right? So they don't have any of the brains built into them. They're just speakers that are designed to be mounted on the wall. And when we do that, we can focus on maximizing the box that they're in as a speaker. And essentially now we're talking about having 2 or 3 speakers connected to each other attached to the wall near the TV. And I think, as Kevin's talking about levels, that's kind of moving into that business class experience where we're getting from, yes, you could possibly hear the dialogue on your TV. Adding a cheap soundbar is going to help you hear that dialogue. Moving up to a nicer soundbar with bigger speakers in it, it's going to help you actually start to experience that movie, can be combined with subs. And now we're really talking about just solving a problem for a client in a meaningful way. Like we're getting to something they're going to enjoy, not just something that's going to allow them to understand what's being said on their TV show.
I really like the aircraft analogy here because I'm about to make a flight, and in economy, everybody's going to have a 5-inch screen. For those lucky enough to get into business class, they're going to have like a 7 or 10-inch screen, and if for those people in first class, I believe they have like even bigger screens, and they're all going to watch the same movie. They're going to have a very different experience. And the sound is going to be different in the first class seat. They're going to have noise cancelling headset rather than earbuds and stuff. And I think so. Funnily enough, that's an I think it's a great analogy that you can hear the sound. Economy. You can hear the sound in a premium economy buying a cheap soundbar. You can hear the sound in business class, which might be a Sonos or something, and then you can hear the sound properly. If you go to a James or a tailored soundbar. I think the other thing about that analogy I really like was, and you talked about how the lower end products, they have 1,000 features, but 3 little speakers don't give you 5.1. I mean, however hard you want to try, 5.1 is 6 speakers, folks. It's not coming out to 3. Now, having said that, there is some quite good simulation done on single soundbars, but a Sonos Arc or a James soundbar with a couple of speakers behind you make all the difference.
Yeah. First, I would like to argue on your analogy or your understanding of my analogy. The speakers on the back of your TV are walking somewhere. The cheap soundbar's riding the bus, and then the higher end soundbars like Sonos, that's economy, premium economy. But yeah, I think we're on the same page there. No, I think I'm not a huge fan of powered soundbars unless they are absolutely needed. I will say that something like the Sonos Arc is a fantastic experience, especially if you're comparing it to the experience you would have from your TV. Watching a movie with the Sonos Arc and a subwoofer is not a bad experience. That is a very enjoyable experience that I think most people would really appreciate. I think most people would also really appreciate premium economy, but there are always going to be people who don't want that experience. They want to fly business class or first class, be pampered, and I think the products that Kevin likes to sell, things like James Audio or Leon, that starts to get into that first class experience where we can tailor it specifically to you, what your expectations are, what your desires are. And that's where it becomes really fun. And that's where it stops feeling to me like well, this is the only place we can put the speakers, so this is what we have to use, and becomes we get to put the speakers right next to the TV, and that in itself is a good experience.
That's right. I like to think about it like headphones. As I look on our screen right now, Keith, you've got little earbuds that are coming down and connected to your computer so you can get your sound that way. And that's one way you can hear things. I've got AirPods that have noise canceling in them, as Nigel kind of mentioned. And then I even have like really good headphones that actually sound fantastic, add a lot of bass, cut out all the other noise. I can hit them into transparency mode and hear what else is going on around me, but they're fantastic, right? And this is the same experience that we can give people with soundbars. You can choose the level you want to go. And not only are we choosing that in a soundbar perspective for the performance of the audio that you get out of it, but you're also then getting the opportunity to choose that in the aesthetic value of what it looks like. Does this look like we put a rounded soundbar and fit it right on the bottom of the TV on the wall? Or did we have it be something where it fits exactly the width of the TV? It was cut specific to that finish so that it looks right. Or is it something where we have maybe on Leon's side where we can pick a fabric color that goes across it so that it matches the decor of the space? And so it really allows us to pick things out, get the performance level that we want out of them, and have it look like it was designed and a part of the space of the room. So it doesn't just look like we threw it up there and had it kind of stick on the wall as we were doing it.
You know, a television turned off is one of the ugliest things you can do to a room, because you spend so much money designing this lovely living space, and then you put a black hole in your wall, when it's off. So, many of us like the frame TVs because they're more arty-like and they're less jarring. But then, you have to have a table for your soundbar, and what you were just describing, which is, how do I absorb the soundbar into the television? How do I make it look something that fits the decor I spent all this time working on? Is a great idea. I would also tell you, the other thing is that as you improve the source of the picture, and we've talked before about Apple TVs and all the other different ways you get it, they are starting to deliver some really good soundtracks on television and on movies. We were watching something last night, and I thought someone was breaking in the door, but it was actually the little speakers, the wireless speakers behind me, firing sound. So you're paying for that. It's coming through your Apple TV, and you're not going to get that effect. It will sound better, but it won't sound great. So it's not for every room, but where you watch TV, particularly things like sports and stuff, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's also, you were mentioning the frame TVs. There are now soundbars designed to look good with frame TVs. They're not really hidden, they just kind of match the aesthetic. But I think if somebody has that space available to them, essentially the only place I can put the speakers is near the TV. The options really are kind of endless. And people may see soundbars sitting, like you said, at Costco and think, well, this is what I have to do. We can do now small amplifiers behind the TV, mounted in a little box and flush with the wall. And that soundbar could also be flush. I mean, we've done flush speakers installed into mantles and painted to match. Like, there are a lot of options when you're still in this soundbar mindset, or still, that's the only real estate you have. I think most people just don't know to ask. Like, they assume that they're going to have this ugly box and that's their only option. But they're not really as limited as you would think. And adding subwoofers to that can be done wirelessly, and adding surround speakers, as you mentioned, that may not be the ideal experience. It may not be exactly what we're going for. But if that limitation is space, and that's the only limitation, there's a lot of really cool things we can do.
Yeah, and I think we can, as you say, make the speakers disappear. So, maybe next time what we should talk about is how do we make speakers disappear? How do we do that? But if people have questions about how to do it beautifully, Bravas, we talk about beautiful places, smart spaces. We can help make this beautiful for you. We can make this disappear, but you shouldn't have to experience bad sound and bad visual look in your living area as well.
Well said.
Amen.